So as I was saying, it's just for streaming where I need to have a stable, relatively decent upload speed, that I've had issues. That said, whenever we do have an internet outage, they literally have no way to track an outage. There's nothing, no information to us. I have no way to know when they claim that the service is back. So just, when we have an internet service outage, about once an hour I go and unplug the router and replug it back in to see if we've gotten service back, because they don't acknowledge that the outages happen. It seems like the settings that I have are not working perfectly for preventing the downtime. The disconnect still happened, which is frustrating. What's interesting is, so OBS, when it dropped out, it went to attempting to reconnect. And when OBS reconnected, that's when the stream switched to offline. So there's something about OBS manages to reconnect, but Twitch is switching off my stream once the reconnection happens. And I don't know why. That's new behavior that has started happening in the last week. It didn't used to do that. OBS used to reconnect and the stream would restart. But now, when OBS reconnects, Twitch cuts the stream and switches me to offline. Which is why, for like 20 minutes the other day, I thought I was streaming and Twitch had me as offline. I don't know why. Oh, they have a way to track outages internally. They just don't communicate any of that to the customer. Because they're a monopoly and they don't need to. So they don't admit that outages happen. Like, they literally communicate zero about internet outages, service outages. There's not even a way, like, I can report an outage to them as a service issue for my address. And that's it. There's no, like, outage map. There's no estimates of when service will be restored. There's no communication, no acknowledgement that outages are even happening. That's just, they don't have that as part of their system from the customer side. So, I don't know. It's very strange. I wish I could have a different ISP. And someday I will. But until then, we get the adventure of trying to make this work with unstable internet. So, we had a week, about 3 weeks ago, where my internet service was perfectly stable and I got through like 3 streams with no issues whatsoever. I don't know. Anyway, today's plan is to play Mass Effect, and we are in the middle of companion quests on Tuchanka in Mass Effect 2. So I think we're in the middle of Morden at the moment, probably pretty close to the end of it, and then we'll be working on Runt's companion quest. We're running out of side stuff to do in Mass Effect 2, and eventually we're gonna have to go to the Citadel, where I imagine we will probably run into Kaidan again. So, we'll see. But, got alerts. I was checking to see if people were trying to send me notes, because I've not been good at that. When my mods send me communications letting me know things and I don't see them. So just that I actually see them. It's so frustrating. I'm literally, like, yesterday's stream has 4 VODs because of the disconnects that happened, and it's really frustrating to me. But there's also nothing I can do about it. I'm doing everything I can. I haven't dropped frames with the new setting, where before I was dropping frames, but I don't know that that's any better. Anyway, I'm going to get off of this topic, and we're actually going to move into the game. So I'm also trying something. I think I may have gotten it so that I can do game capture again instead of window or screen capture for this. Because like when we updated to the newest OBS, it was requiring screen capture instead of game capture. I think I may have gotten that fixed. We'll see. Who knows? But we're gonna switch over to the Mass Effect screen. And this was my test, but this is not the game itself. This is the loader. So you won't have any sound. But once I get into Mass Effect 2, you should have sound. Hopefully, it'll take a second because I'll have to actually hit buttons. Hopefully you'll get picture as well. Because the loader is a separate .exe file than the game. And so currently the game capture is set to look for the loader, not the game. So I'm going to have to click a button in yes once the game actually loads up to hopefully get it to capture the game for you. There's a lot of technical stuff that has to happen in order to make a stream go, and I appreciate your patience while I work out all of the the wacky. All of the wacky. That's what we'll call it. Yes! Game capture is working again for the game. That makes me so happy. Because honestly, I much prefer the game capture to the capture. Because with the game capture, I don't accidentally show you my OBS. And end up with an endless series of the same thing over and over again. Alright. I will attempt to continue monitoring and catch if the stream goes down. But if y'all can, like, if I do happen to go offline again, you know, scream it in chat. What I need is I need to set up a command that will like play an alert sound or something for me. I don't know if that'll work, but I should set up something for y'all to be like, you've disconnected. Anywho, I say we pop into this game and see what's going on. You should now have picture and sound. And we are here on Tuchanka. Right, we're in the middle of Morden's quest. Enter the hospital. Enter the repurposed Krogan hospital and search for Morden's student. There's something else new? Oh! Combustion manifold. Deliver the manifold. Alright, that's back at the key. Your Urdnot scout was found. Talk to the chief scout back at Clan Urdnot to make sure the scout made it back. Okay. Hello, Tuchanka! We are in you. What was that? Can't kill me. That was creepy. I think I'm supposed to go through the door next.
Shepard, I'm detecting crates ahead that are holding unstable materials. A misplaced shot could cause a significant explosion.
Or a well-placed shot. Explosives useful. Burn through Krogan armor.
That's what I was thinking, Morden. Also, how is everybody else's Sunday going? Hello? I am here. I see baddies. What was that? Are these... What are those? Blood Pack Troopers? For a second I thought maybe they were Krogan without armor, but I don't think so. Oh, hi there. I see you. Come on, poke your head around. I'ma shoot you. Watching some streams and working on writing. Congrats on working on writing. That is something I need to do and I'm not very good at. I love this sniper rifle. Alright. Explosive crate. I mean, honestly, this explosive crate is right next to me, which means that I don't actually want to use it, as I want it to blow up so it won't hurt. Thank you. Circuit board. Oh, circuit boards. Did I ever tell you all that I worked at a telecom startup? Beyond just saying I worked at a telecom startup? Back in background and world building. Cool. Back in the, wow, let's see. Back in the year 2000. The year 2000. I, worked at a company called Ocular Networks, which was a telecom startup in the DC Metro. And I did materials management, which, if you don't have any idea what materials management is, basically, we got the components and managed them, and, like, the developers actually, like, made the circuit boards and did all the testing and stuff like that, but, if they needed parts, we made sure they had them. And I got to work with actual, like, components, that go onto PCB. And I also did the inventory tracking for the actual, like, prototype circuit boards, and stuff like that. It was the first time that I ever worked in something, like inventory management, tracking inventory, which has a lot of similarities to library and archives work. There's a lot of crossover between materials management, inventory tracking, and like library stuff. Anyway, the company that I worked for was developing the first gigabit Ethernet cards for edge network stuff. So this was back when telecoms didn't have things like gigabit Ethernet cards out at the edge of their network, like in the box near your house. And so they were developing the first cards that would go out like in the like junction box near you. And it was an interesting experience. That was when I had full-blown depression going on, and I was there, literally, like, I listened to the news on the way to work every morning. I listened to WTOP, which is the DC area, like, news channel that basically everybody listens to because they have the good traffic reports. And so, like, on September 11th, on September 11th, that morning, just randomly, I decided not to listen to the news on the way in that morning, and I was listening to, I think, classical music instead, which is not what I would normally do. And so I got to work and discovered that while I had been driving in, the events of September 11th had started, and I was commuting from Frederick, Maryland to Reston. And so chose to stay there because I also had dial-up internet and no cable and no access. Like, I couldn't get any of the actual, like, TV channels on the antenna. So I stayed at work so that I could continue following what was going on, and it was surreal driving home because I used to drive, I drove under the flight path of Dulles Airport, and to drive past and have no planes at all was very weird. Anyway, sorry, Anyway, I digress very far. I was talking about, I worked at a telecom startup doing materials management, and that all came up because the game gave me some circuit boards. Sorry. That was a weird digression, and I do apologize if it was weird for anybody else. Hi, Lord Portico.
This should come in handy.
Oh no, where did you leave your pip, Lord Portico? Oh, we got story happening.
Malin, alive, unharmed. No signs of restraint, no evidence of torture. Don't understand.
For such a smart man, Professor, you always had trouble seeing evidence that disagreed with your preconceptions. How long will it take you to admit that I'm here because I wish to be here?
He wasn't kidnapped. He came here voluntarily to cure the genophage.
Impossible. Whole team agreed. Project necessary.
How was I supposed to disagree with the great Dr. Solus?
Ooh.
I was your student. I looked up to you.
Experiments performed here. Live subjects, prisoners, torture and executions. You're doing?
We've already got the blood of millions on our hands, Doctor. If it takes a bit more to put things right, I can deal with that.
No. Like, great. You see the injustice of the project that you were involved in before, and as a student didn't feel empowered to be able to challenge. Got it. Excellent initiative there. Your heart was in the right place with that. Coming here to try and cure it, great initiative. Sounds wonderful. Doing so by becoming a Mengele. No. You cannot right the wrongs of the past by committing more wrongs today. Oh gosh, Mobius. Ooh. I need to find out what's going on. Thank you, Portico, for the combat prep.
You honestly think the experiments you did here are justified?
The experiments
We
were
committed
not
cultural
justified.
Genocide. Nothing I do will ever be justified. The experiments are monstrous because I was taught to be a monster.
Morgan, did you ever perform experiments like this?
No. Never taught you this, Malin.
So your hands are clean. What does it matter if the ground is stained with the blood of millions? You taught me that the end justified the means. I will undo what we did, Professor. The only way I know
think
how.
he missed a little bit of the nuance of the creation of the genophage. Now, I personally am not in favor of the genophage. I don't think it was the right thing to do, but what has been presented to us in this game was that they were desperate and they needed a way to stop the Krogan from basically devastating the entire galaxy and reducing their birth rate seemed to be their best option. They worked really hard to introduce something that would reduce the birth rate without killing them off entirely, and that would provide them with a sustainable birth rate going forward so that there continued to be Krogan. Like, they were in a difficult situation. I don't necessarily agree with the choice that they made, but within it, there was nuance, and they were not trying to kill them off. They were not trying to harm them. They were working very hard and very carefully to ensure that the race would survive without continuing to pose the significant threat to existence of everybody else that they were posing. That is not the same as the end justifies the mean. You can see how ethically sourced genetic devastation really balanced out. Really did not balance out. Gotcha. So, Malon claiming, "You taught me the end justifies the means," that does not seem like the lesson that was being given. From what we have heard, granted, from Morden Solus, they wrestled with the ethics of it. They were not just doing it to do it. They were struggling with the ethics of it and still felt like they had to do it in order to save the rest of the galaxy. It wasn't an easy decision for them, and it wasn't a case of the end justifying the means.
What happens if the genophage is cured and the Krogan expand again? That'll be on your head.
We justified this atrocity by saying the Krogan would cause havoc and war if their population recovered. But look at the galaxy. Batarian attacks in the Traverse, Geth attacks in the Citadel. Is this a more peaceful universe? The assault on your Eden Prime might never have happened if we had let the Krogan recover. We'll never know.
He might have a little bit of a point. The author's intent is not the communication. Yeah. A rock and a hard place sucked, but the alternative would have been worse. Possibly, yeah. He might have a point of, like, what does it matter because there's violence everywhere anyway? But that's the past, we don't know.
How would a Krogan population explosion have done anything to stop Saren and the Geth?
An increased Krogan population would have forced the Council to take steps, likely involving colony rights in the Traverse. The Turian fleets would be vigilant for any military activity in the area. They might have stopped the Geth at Eden Prime.
Supposition. Impossible to be certain.
Don't you
Exactly,
see?
Morden.
We tried to play God and we failed. We only made things worse, and I'm going to fix it.
By playing God again?
You talked about killing, but the genophage isn't lethal. It only affects fertility rates.
Krogan fight over fertile females. They become mercenaries or pirates because they see no alternative. They would be thriving in a cultural renaissance now had we not decided that this is what they deserved.
Inaccurate. Krogan population resulted in war. Simulations were clear.
I'm struck by a curiosity, and not one that I think we can actually answer, just one that springs to my mind. Humanity hasn't experienced a Krogan war, the other groups have. So, the Krogan population, granted, they are a fictional race created for this game, somewhat Klingon-ish Klingon warrior-ish in their approach to things, meaning like battle first, fight, fight, fight. We've seen how like the more aggressive ones have been selected for by the genophage ultimately, but it strikes me as curious, and I don't know if this played any part in the design of the race or not, but the limited number of females, the large group of males who see no prospects because there are so few females, strikes me as somewhat of a there's a little bit of a similarity to the result of the one-child policy in China, where China ended up with a large population of male Chinese and a small population of female Chinese owing to the cultural structure of Chinese society and the preference for male children over female during the one-child policy years. And so I don't know if there's a little bit of that being used as a template for building out the Krogan culture in this game. I have no idea if that influence is there, but that's where my brain went when there was the comment about the low number of females. And Portico was right there with me. Thank you. And like I said, I don't think that's something that we can ever actually know for sure. It was just a curiosity that popped into my head while I was listening.
Why work with Clan Weirlock? And how did you access the genophage data?
The data was easy to obtain. We all still had clearance. We were heroes. All I had to do was ask. As for the Werlock, they were the only clan with both the resources and the commitment.
Urdnot has a larger camp than Werlock. Why not use them?
Urdnot Rex is too soft. He wasn't willing to do the experiments I needed.
I think
Urdnot's
that
lost,
means he was
Werlock's
actually
Their
stronger.
clan will be the first to recover from the crime we committed.
We're shutting your lab down, Malin.
Shutting down more than that.
You can't face the truth, can you? Can't admit that your brilliant mind led you to commit an atrocity!
Ooh! Get him,
Unacceptable
Morden!
experiments. Unacceptable goals. Won't change. No choice. Have to kill you.
I didn't take the interrupt. I had the chance. I didn't.
Apologies, Commander. Misunderstood mission parameters. No kidnapping. My mistake. Thank you.
Don't worry about me, Morton. How are you doing?
Disappointed. Thought Malin better than that. Never suspected he'd go so far. Knew he was
Apologies if that
impressionable.
caught anyone by surprise. I did not know it was coming.
Gotten him through. Good.
It's easy to miss someone else's needs when you're in the middle of your own soul searching.
Went to Omega. Tried to get away. Should have stayed. Right, wrong, irrelevant. Malin dead. Problem solved. Malin's research. Only loose end. Could destroy it. Closure. Security. Still valuable, though.
Oh dear. Do you keep the potentially useful research of Amengala? It's... You haven't taken that path before? This is a really difficult ethical conundrum that is very definitely based in reality. Raises a glass to BioWare for their good ethical discussions and choices. It's Shadows of Life. I would prefer that you had not said that, because that seems like a spoiler. It's a real life conundrum, because we do know that there were absolutely twisted, unethical medical experiments that took place in Germany during the Third Reich, and some of them had yielded genuinely useful medical knowledge. And the question is, if you come across research that was gained through horrendous experimentation, absolutely contemptible experimentation, that could potentially have benefit, do you destroy it because of how it was obtained, or do you keep it for its potential use? Deep Space Nine actually tackled this as well in one of their episodes. Can eliminate options or see what path he was going down without actually doing the research. Yeah, we don't get to ask the victims of the experiments because they're dead. Okay, so this is going to be could be a weird statement. As a librarian and archivist, I believe in making information available. If someone's looking for it and we have it, I believe in letting them access it. What they do with it, I can't control. We have collections in the archives where I work that have absolutely reprehensible content in them. if we get rid of all of the reprehensible content that is out there, we forget that that history exists and are much more likely to repeat it. That just because we have access to it doesn't mean we won't repeat it. But if we get rid of it so that nobody remembers it even happened, we're much more likely to repeat it. So I generally am in favor of open access to information, in which case I think this information exists. We might as well find out what's there and potentially use it. At least their death would mean something, yeah. Keeping the information also bears witness to the truth of what happened. Thank you, Portico. It is Season 7, Episode 23, Extreme Measures of Deep Space Nine. And yes, you can preserve the information without acting on it. One of the first collections that I ever processed as an archivist was a collection of American Nazi Party materials, and it made me... because I had to look at the stuff in order to describe it. It was stressful. It was difficult to work with. And it's there, and I don't know if anybody's ever consulted it, but if anybody was doing research, and I know that there have been people in Virginia at some of the other institutions who have been researching that topic, it could potentially be useful information in order to look back at history and see that it was specifically like recruiting papers and stuff like that, to look back and see what has happened before. And acknowledge that history and understand that history. And if all of that stuff is destroyed or inadequately described so that it's not findable, it makes it much harder to do that research and to understand that history. So I'm going to say might be worth keeping. I didn't know that I was going to be having this deep of an ethical discussion about information access when I started the stream today.
If you think it could be useful, why not hang on to it?
Worked for years to create modified genophage. Should destroy this. Malin's work could cure genophage. Don't know. Effects on Krogan. Effects on Galaxy. Too many variables. Too many variables.
And all of that has to be answered through a multiple choice test. Morden, should help the Krogan. I like that option. Genophage was the right call. I can't say. I wasn't there. I'm not part of it. File in a warehouse somewhere looked after by top men. Oh dear. Destroy it for now. Hold on to the data. I'm gonna go with you should help the Krogan. You helped create the situation they're in. It is... the situation that they are in is partly your fault. Yes, you had your reasons for doing it. It is clearly not ideal. It is causing them suffer as a species. If there's a way to mitigate that suffering, you should work on it. Because you are the one with most knowledge of how they got there in the first place. So I'm going to say you should help the Krogan.
You regret what the Krogan have become. You see the horror of what they did here, but you see the loss, too.
Wasted potential.
They don't deserve this, Morden. Save the data.
Point taken, Shepard. Capturing data. Wiping local copy.
Save the data, save
Still
the world.
years away from cure, but closer than starting from scratch. Done. Ready to go. Ready to be off to Chanka. Anywhere else. Maybe somewhere sunny.
We're not done on Tachanka, though. We still have to do Grunt's quest.
I'd like to look around a bit more.
all of the spoiler knowledge about it. Yeah, I don't know what's coming, and so I'm trying very hard to avoid spoilers as much as possible. Now, granted, I know this game is more than a decade old, and I can't 100% avoid spoilers. Plus, I've played Andromeda, which has some spoilers for what's going on, but generally, I don't know what's coming, and so I love that you all get excited by knowing what's coming, and I understand it is difficult not to say. I know I mentioned before that I was playing the new Lego Star Wars game, and I will mention I did finish the Lego Star Wars game last night. I have 100%ed it, although my Steam says I have 95%ed it because there is there's a bug that prevents it correctly completion of one of the areas. I submitted a bug report, but wait, is the stream up? We're good? Like, my Twitch says that I am live. My OBS says that I'm live. It looks like I did have a drop in bitrate, but I think we're okay. Double checking things real quick. You'll lose sound for a second. I did have a drop in bitrate for certain. But it does seem like overall the variable bitrate setting in OBS that I enabled has been helping. You just might get some reduction in stream quality when the bitrate goes down. And then we did have that one time where it dropped out enough for it to fall offline. But we're not losing frames the way we were before, and we're not... I think it's doing better, although not perfect. But it's never going to be perfect until I get better internet. I think I have to go... I think I have to exit and go back and then come back to Tachanka. Don't think I have any option because I can't exit this room, so I can't just continue with Brent's quest. So we return to the Normandy, having finished Morden's. All right, mission complete. Mission summary: troubled by Clan Werlock's progress toward genophage cure without Cerberus knowledge, cure data may prove useful. Krogan dangerous, but if recruited as shock troops against Reapers, extremely valuable. Morden's assistant is no longer a problem. Morden will have no trouble focusing on the mission. Experience gained 750. Morden power unlocked.